Welcome everybody. My name is Söderblom. This is my co-host and friend
Janne Nevalainen.
We are from Innofactor, Finland, and this is a Cybersecurity Studio. And we are doing every month a so-called Cybersecurity Studio where we present topical and relevant news all over the globe regarding, well, current cybersecurity topics.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the business.
Yeah, let's start. So, week 39, and what do we have today?
Plenty of interesting news, I'd say.
Yeah, record DDOS attacks, MFA fatigue, domain shadowing, and all the other
and
stuff.
Russia's planning again something nasty.
Yeah, 5,500-day vulnerability and feature of ransomware.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but okay, so let's begin.
Yeah.
Let's start with a yet again record-breaking DDoS attack. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service Attack, meaning that some websites get a load of traffic. And this has actually been happening multiple times this year. Now a cybersecurity company Imperva has disclosed a record-breaking DDoS attack from June. And what was particular in this attack was that usually these attacks last for seconds or minutes, but this attack lasted for 4 hours. So really long DDoS attack and resulting in over 25 billion requests. And botnet responsible for this attack was spread across 180 countries and included over 170,000 IP addresses. So really large attack, really long lasting.
Right. So I wonder what's the reason behind this phenomenon. Maybe there are lots of compromised devices. For example, IoT devices that have been compromised. I don't know, what's the deal with the Mirai botnet attack, for example? Has it been increased or so on? Maybe could be possibly one of the reasons behind these constantly record-breaking DDoS attacks. Who knows?
All right, so
let's move on.
Moving on.
MFA fatigue. So what is this all about? Well, everybody knows the MFA, the multi-factor authentication, a very good functionality and feature that we all should be using, especially in enterprise environments. Well, the business have increasingly adopted the MFA concept, which is excellent. The basic idea everybody knows to harden the logging process regarding the networks or systems. However, there are, did you know this, Janne? There are various methods basically to bypass the MFA.
Well, what a surprise.
What a surprise,
that attackers can find those.
Yeah, it's always like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
So for example, stealing cookies through malware, man-in-the-middle phishing attack frameworks and so on. But there's also a more easier, lighter way for attacker to basically utilize and to bypass the MFA. It's a social engineering technique called MFA fatigue, aka MFA push spam. And it's growing popular every now and then, increasingly. And it does not require any malware or phishing infrastructure to be established. The goal is to continuously push MFA requests to the account's own mobile device. To basically to break down the target cybersecurity posture and inflict a kind of fatigue regarding these MFA prompts. So you know the deal. When you're getting the MFA prompt on your, well, what if it's coming up constantly all the time? So the target gets overwhelmed that they don't accidentally or even purposely accept the MFA request to stop the notification. So that's what the technique is all about, and there's been actually a few cases already when this has been utilized. And Janne, you know the Uber case, which was recent. That's exactly one typical scenario how this MFA push scam or MFA fatigue technique was used.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, this was actually that the attacker contacted the victim that, hey, we have a problem in our system, and hey, just push OK for the MFA.
Exactly. They were probably imposing as a IT service desk or something like that.
Yeah.
Most likely. If I recall correctly, that was exactly how it went. Yeah. However, there are of course ways to mitigate this. Yeah. And would you like to tell a little bit more about this, Janne?
Yeah. For example, if we think about the Microsoft Authenticator, for example, Azure AD provides different mitigation tactics. And of course, Innofactor can help in these cases.
Definitely, we'll be able to assist you and provide you help on these cases if you're wondering that are your MFA practices in a good level and if you need to like them to be examined, for example. All right, but let's move on then. So what's next?
Yeah, domain shadowing has become more popular among cyber criminals these days, and it's a special type of DNS hijacking. So you know that DNS hijacking means that attackers get hold of the victim's DNS system. Yeah, and so if the attackers get hold of the DNS, they can forward requests to some malicious websites, for example. But domain shadowing is kind of a stealthier type of DNS hijacking. So instead of doing anything visible, the attacker creates, for example, malicious subsites, malicious entries for example, C2 addresses, command and control, malware sites, phishing pages, for example. And what's the trick in here is that it's all in the legit DNS.
Right.
So the company DNS is okay, everything's working perfectly, but there are different malicious websites in the DNS which seem to be legit. Right. Because the traffic comes from the company's DNS. So it's really hard to detect because the traffic originates from the legitimate DNS addresses, and attackers can, for example, create phishing sites that, for example, ask for users' Office 365 credentials.
Sounds sneaky.
Yeah, really sneaky, really sneaky.
All right.
And well, the mitigation to this is that check your DNS.
All right, then let's move on. Well, Russia is yet again planning massive cyber attacks, this time on a pretty large scale. This information was found through the Ukrainian military intelligence, which warns that Russia is planning to escalate significant cyber attacks targeting Ukraine and Western allies in the near future. The targets are predicted to be this time critical infrastructure of Ukraine and Western countries, including electric grids and facilities of the energy industry. So this pretty much reminds me of the incident back in, I think it was 2016 in Ukraine, which became quite a well-known example of government type of attack against the electric grid. And according to the report, the Kremlin also plans to conduct more powerful DDoS, denial of distributed services attacks on the critical infrastructure on Ukraine's allies, such as Poland and the Baltic countries. So unfortunately, this is something that might be expected according to Ukrainian military intelligence.
Yeah, and you can say that this is nothing new. So this has been going on for a long time, but of course, if there is a separate plan for a massive cyber attack, so this is of course something that needs to be taken into account.
Definitely, definitely. And to my understanding, and according to the source, the scale of the attack, it might be one of the key words here. So, all right, hopefully all the cyber defenses are up and working as they should.
Yeah, and we usually talk a lot about zero-day vulnerabilities and new threats, but actually this is a little bit older. So we are talking about 15 years old Python vulnerability. This was actually quite interesting, so that threat researchers found a vulnerability from a Python module, and they thought that they found a zero-day vulnerability, but actually it was a 15-year-old. The vulnerability can be exploited by victim entering a specifically named file. And if you enter the file in the victim system, this vulnerability allows the attacker to overwrite arbitrary files in the target system.
Okay.
For example, password files.
Right.
So it's kind of a nasty exploit.
Sounds very nasty.
Yeah. And this was actually found in 2007, and it was actually disclosed then as a feature, but time has passed, 15 years. Now we have over 350,000 open source projects that are vulnerable to this quite dormant feature. So if I'm correct, there hasn't been any exploits. But right. Of course, we are talking a quite nasty problem.
Vulnerability.
Yeah. And the good news is that the same research team has been working on a fix. So there is something that can be fixed in the code, but of course, this is a good example that of course there are lots of zero-day vulnerabilities, but the old ones can also come and bite us at the ankles.
True. And what wonders me is that so it was originally found and most likely announced to relevant stakeholders back in 2007, and no action seems to be none taken.
Yeah.
And so it was like found yet again.
Yeah.
Now,
it was refound.
That's refound. That's a bit worrying. So the process itself lacks something. It's missing something, obviously, because of the fact that it gets lost and forgotten, such type of announcement. Yeah.
But let's get to the next news, and maybe I think that we are now in a little bit newer stuff.
Well,
which was stupid to say, but...
Well, Janne, we certainly are. Yes. Yeah. The future of ransomware, so corrupting files. So what is this all about? Not everybody, but many people know, especially in our industry, that ransomware is one of the most significant attack vectors currently. So we all know the basic concept of it. It's been active for years. There's various different type of variations of various groups utilizing it and so forth.
Yeah. It's known and there's lots of defenses for that.
Exactly. But now there's a new trend going on. So the new thing is that there seems to be a trend, possibly. There are at least few cases in the wild found that basically seems to present a concept where the attacker is not interested anymore in actually encrypting the files, but instead corrupting the files. And that's like a new way of doing it. And there's like the question remains, for example, that why to do it in such way? Well, that's one good question. The answer could be, for example, that when you do it in such a way that when you are not encrypting something, in that case you don't have a pattern that, for example, any endpoint protection utility or application can track and sense. Yeah. When you're not doing it that way, it seems to be like a business as usual when something is going to be deleted or eradicated and so on. So that's one way. So avoiding the detection by any EDRs, for example. The other one is that when you are encrypting something, it is quite a resource-intensive process to do. So there might be cases that it might go wrong in some cases. So this might be more like a straightforward and maybe easier to implement type of a process. But then again, there's one question that really remains, and the article from the CISO Online did not answer, and that is the actual question that how do the adversaries, how do they monetize this?
So we can speculate.
We can speculate for a while, that's true. Yeah. So it might be maybe the case that possibly the attacker, for instance, locks the screen, displays a text on the screen saying that, for instance, okay, now 10,000 of your files has been deleted. You got 3 days to act, or otherwise we're going to be eradicating 100,000 files more, unless you pay a few bitcoins to this wallet address and so on. Just speculating here, but this particular article didn't take a stand on how would the monetize go. But anyway, it's interesting and it remains to be seen if this will become a new trend or not.
But hey, that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Straight from Helsinki.
Straight from Helsinki to you guys, and looking forward for the next session.
Yeah, and hey, by the way, check our Innofactor events page for our upcoming webinars and events. And did you know that you can also see our past webinars from there?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. All right.
But all right. Well, hey, looking forward for the next session then.
Yeah. See you next month. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.